Welcome back again to another episode of the Statesman podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I do this episode with a very heavy heart because 17 bodies, 15 crushed under the weight of steel, and what followed was silence. 2 pedestrians swept away by the chaos, and behind it all, not just a driver, not just bad luck, but a system, a regime, a road that seeps from the highest office in the land down to the potholes that line our roads. Today, we talk about what happened on Seke Road and why it was not just an accident, but a murder by government neglect. On Tuesday, 22 July 2025, during morning rush, the Seke Road connecting Harare to Chitungwiza was pegged. And this characterizes the capital city roads during rush hours. It's the lifeline for thousands commuting to work, school, and life. But that morning at Hunyani Bridge, the lifeline turned into a killing ground. A 30-ton haulage truck lost control, at least according to official police statement, veered into oncoming traffic and tipped over a fully loaded Nissan Caravan Kombi. 15 souls inside, crushed, screaming for help, trapped under a mountain of steel, and then silence. Because help did not come, not for minutes, not even for an hour. It took 3 hours, give or take, for a crane to arrive after insane efforts by a journalist, not the government, not the police, not the emergency services, a journalist doing what state systems are paid and mandated to do. There are institutions built, employed people, institutions which receive budgets to respond to emergencies like this. They most likely shied away, didn't show up to deliver their reasons of existence. Now, here is where the insult turns into a national embarrassment. In the wake of the carnage, local government minister Daniel Garwe stood before the media, stood before people who had lost loved ones, not to declare national mourning, not to unveil emergency reforms or to deploy rescue systems, but to announce that the affected families, the affected communities will get water, and water for 2 days. Yes, you heard right. A once-off water supply, as if it's a gift, in a city where water is supposed to flow every single second. This is not leadership. This is what happens when you put a bricklayer in a cabinet post. Not because of competence or merit, but because of political loyalty and sycophants. Garwe is the same man who has openly advocated for the unconstitutional extension of President Mnangagwa's term. That is his focus, not fixing urban roads, not building infrastructure, not reforming emergency services, but scheming to break the constitution for his political godfather. What did we expect in the wake of a disaster like this? As a citizen, as a progressive citizen, number one, I would expect public accountability. We must have a full instant report from the city council, ambulance services, traffic, police, and fire brigade. Set up an independent investigation into why emergency services failed to respond on time, whether any officials neglected the duty, and suspend or discipline negligent officials pending investigation outcomes. Number 2, I would inspect infrastructure and service audit. Order a safety and readiness audit of emergency response capacity, ambulances, cranes, rescue equipment, road conditions, and accident-prone zones. Review city preparedness. Does the city have a disaster management plan? Is it funded? Is it functional? Number 3, policy reform and institutional strengthening. Call for new legislation or regulation such as mandatory accident rapid response protocols, minimum equipment standards for municipalities, e.g. cranes and fire trucks. Push for decentralization of rescue resources to reduce response times. You have to strategically station and equip districts. Now, the problem with Zimbabwe is everything has collapsed. The comrades have ushered the country back into the Munumtapa state of the 21st century. From sports stadiums through universities who pay lecturers $230 via a collapsed health sector to 95% unemployment. The amount of resources required to fix the country as we speak today are unimaginable, and they increase as each day passes. Number 4, I would expect political and moral responsibility. Avoid the performative or token gestures, e.g. temporary water supply as compensation. They are offensive in the face of death and state collapse. Resign or offer to resign in extreme cases if the tragedy exposes deep chronic failures under the watch of the minister. But this story isn't just about one accident. It's a mirror, a reflection of how Zimbabwe is governed, or more accurately, misgoverned. Remember, Cyclone died back in 2019. After that tragedy, the Minister of Local Government back then was July Moyo. He was supposed to have cascaded and improved the systems that are proactive and decentralized. I do not expect Daniel Garwe to be aware of these things. What does he know? How is he even a minister? It's jokes on ED. But I would have expected more from someone like July Moyo. He's a learned man. He's a smart man. More should be expected from the permanent secretary, a line director responsible for this portfolio. Someone should get fired for this. The 17 were killed by ambulances and fire brigades without fuel because budgets meant for emergency response are looted. And ministers are concerned with political survival than the safety of citizens. The same Zinara that collects road tolls can't show where the money goes. The same Ministry of Transport had been flagged year after year by the Auditor General for running unbudgeted and incomplete road projects. Where is the money? Stolen. Where are the safety reforms? Buried. Just like the people who died under the track. There is an issue of collapse of emergency systems, a serious one. Let's talk about that 3-hour delay. Do you know what 3 hours means for someone trapped and bleeding under a vehicle? Imagine it's your father. Imagine it's your mother. Imagine it's your son, it's your daughter, screaming for help that never came until your last breath. Under the heavy weight of a 30-ton steel truck. It's life or death. And in Zimbabwe, it means death because we don't have functioning national emergency response systems. Why? Because everything is reactive. Everything is performative. We wait for tragedy. Then we send a minister to tour the site. Then we promise investigations. Then we forget until the next comb is flattened. There is no centralized dispatch system in Zimbabwe, no airlift capacity. Forget that we bought helicopters from Russia less than 2 years ago. Where are they? Has anyone seen them flying? And No road accident fund to guarantee emergency medical treatment. Why? Because the road accident fund bill, which could have saved lives, is still sitting in parliament and passed for years. And we have parliamentarians who attend parliament every week for 5 years. Another 5 years come again and goes with the bill accumulating dust. So ask yourself, who benefits from this chaos? The answer is simple: the political elite. Why ordinary citizens die in combis and drink sewage water? Ministers drive imported SUVs on pothole-riddled roads. They get their healthcare in South Africa, in Singapore, in China. They fly private jets while telling us to mourn with 2 days of water. Minister Daniel Garwe should have resigned by now or been fired, but that would require a government that values accountability, and instead he remains protected, not because he is competent, but because he is loyal. If elections mattered in Zimbabwe, within 30 minutes of the first emergency call, police, fire brigade, ambulances, and the rescue crane would be on site. A mobile trauma unit is dispatched from the nearest hospital. But that is too much to ask from hospitals which do not have beds for patients. The transport minister, flanked by the local government minister, flies to the scene within minutes and gives a brief press statement, mobilizes self-protection units, engineers, and grief counselors to assist. On day 2 to 3, an accountability and support should start. Public trust is sacred in a democratic country. The emergency services director is suspended pending investigation. That's what we expect. A parliamentary oversight committee announces public hearings. Opposition leaders visit the scene and are not harassed for doing that because political image matters. A citizens' inquiry hotline is launched for eyewitnesses to submit videos, photos, and testimony. When you have a video capturing such incident, where do you post them? Social media? The opposition is actively campaigning, must be actively campaigning, using the disaster as a symbol of institutional failure. But do we have opposition in Zimbabwe? Or it has been encroached by state capture? Douglas Monzora is leading a campaign for by-elections in Epworth, the other side of the city. He is gloating about how they were mixing and mingling with ZANU-PF members. Said nothing about the accident as far as I'm concerned. In a true democracy, leaders know one bridge, one truck, and 15 dead citizens can end a career. The victims of Seke Road are not just victims of a crash. They are victims of a government that has abandoned its constitutional duty to protect life. And if we continue to treat these tragedies as normal, as unavoidable, then as citizens we are also complicit. Now, to conclude, I would like to say it is time to connect the dots between a broken ambulance system, a corrupt vehicle inspection office, a minister who build houses but can't build policy, and a president who watches all of this from behind a security convoy. It is enough. 17 people died, not because of fate, but because of failure. Their blood is not just on the road. It's on the hands of every official who turned public service into personal profit. So to Daniel Garwe, to the cabinet, to the ruling party, ZANU-PF, your incompetence is killing us. And to the people of Zimbabwe, this cannot be forgotten. It must be a line in the sand, because next time, it could be your combi, your child, your silence. Thank you for watching. Please take care and be careful on the roads. Be on the watch out, and let's help each other. Till next time.